Coraline. It is kind of apparent. I have this when I'm at my other house. I have, me and my best friend Avon, we have YB and Coraline matching necklaces. I watched the movie when I was 7 years old and I scared the crap out of myself to the point where I was having nightmares about a woman with button eyes trapping me in her house, and I had to escape with all these different kinds of puzzles and games, in which my mom banned me from watching the movie, and then I watched it every single day for the rest of my life in middle school. I used to watch that movie like 3 times a week in middle school, and it just became my entire personality. I watched a bunch of fan theory videos. So today I'm sharing my theories on The Other Mother, but first I'm going to say some of my own personal favorite theories, so that way I can explain to you guys why these are my favorite theories, and also why my theories correlate with them, and why I think it personally makes the most sense. I'd also like to start off with the fact that I in no way, shape, or form believe that Coraline is still trapped in the other world. The creator of the movie has confirmed that she left safely. So I don't want to hear anyone, she's still in the other world, she's still in the other world. She got back safely, I don't want to hear it. We're not, no. We let the girl rest in peace. We're not getting another movie. We don't. If we were to get another movie, I would want it to be about the Beldam, nothing else. Anyways, I got that out of the way. But one of my favorite theories is the theory that the Beldam is trapped in her other world. Now, this theory came off of TikTok. If I can find it, I will do something over here. I really hope I can. I'm going to spend like maybe 20 minutes like trying to make sure I find all my references and also link them below, because I don't want people to be like, oh my god, credit people. I'm trying. Anyways, basically this theory is that the Beldam has always done this. She's always been this demon from another world. I'm actually going to bring you guys closer to me. Hi guys. That she was always a demon from another world, and that she used to do this around the 1800s, maybe a little bit earlier than that, because of Dirty World Wars. Children were dying like a lot. So she was surviving based on taking these children's eyes while they were still dead. And, well, she had the resources to do this, considering her embalming kit, which is because a lot of people were dying, a lot of small children were dying. At this point, she's had her chance to actually do this, I guess safely, but more like not getting caught. Until, I actually think I got my timeline wrong, I think it was 17 to 1600s, until the 1800s, when modern medicine started to be getting a little better. Not amazing, but better nonetheless. Which is when she started having to take live victims. Because of this, she takes a little boy, which is the blue boy, because the theory is that the blue boy was her very last victim. The blue boy, she takes him and she tries to sew buttons into his eyes. Now the theory, because of what the boy is wearing, and also because of the black cat, who is very important to this theory, that the black cat is the father of the blue boy. When the blue boy goes missing, his father, being a very wealthy businessman, is very upset. Now, the fact that he's a very wealthy businessman and is upper class is very important to the theory, because the cat's voice, which is voiced by Keith David, love you, Keith David, is very elegant, very upper class, very, I don't want to say pompous, but very sure of himself, walking on air. So that's very important for this theory, because that's exactly what the cat sounds like, as if he's unbothered by he's unbothered in general. So when the black cat, when the black cat figures out that the Beldam has taken his son, he condemns her, hangs her over the well, and I think in the theory they either said that they just hang her or they also burned her alive. I guess that could explain her like spidery, like paper-esque, I don't want to say persona, but like look in general. And other than that, they drop her over the well, and as she's going down, she's still alive, and she curses him, and she says, I curse you to forever, blah, 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 blah. And that is how he gets his form as the black cat, forever to be trapped in a cat's body. And because of this because of this, he chooses to wander around the Pink Palace where the well is, which is how he sees Coraline, which is by the well, because he doesn't want her to fall in. Because at that point, I guess she would just be trapped, trying to keep her from going down there. Now, the reason I think that this theory is important is for many reasons. It is very heavily implied by the fandom that the black cat and the other mother have a direct connection. Some people actually believe that they are ex-lovers, which I kind of here for it. Just a little bit. As long as he was a person first, I'm kind of here for it. A lot of people believe that they could have been ex-lovers and that they lost their children, and she does this in spiraling, kind of like the Red Lady. I don't know if anyone knows who that is, but that's a different video I can make about her. Or The Woman by the River, which is it is a Hispanic tale of a woman who drowns her kids in a river, and she forever drags other people's kids into the river with her. That actually could be what Coraline's based off of. I actually don't know, but that is a pretty close, like, idea of what a lot of people theorize in Coraline, so that could be it, maybe. I don't know. But the reason why I very much think that this theory is very probable, well, plausible, is because of how the cat protects Wybie and then Coraline. Wybie is a child at the Pink Palace and has somehow been safe. I don't know if there's other little doors that can lead to the door into the other mother's world in any of the other flats. It might just be specifically Coraline's, but then that asks the question of why had... It's not helping me that all my paints keep falling on the floor. Which leads to the question of why did grandmother, like, put people in that flat? Which a lot of people's theories is that she did it because she was going to sacrifice Coraline to save Wybie. Which, you know what? Clock it, Grandma, because I wouldn't blame you. I truly don't blame that woman. If my baby was gonna get hurt by some wicked witch, I'm sorry, your kid has to go because my baby's gonna be safe. I don't know about yours, but I'm protecting my baby. So I can't blame Grandma. I really can't. I want to be mad at her, but I can't. She's kind of an icon. But anyways, jokes aside, and that theory directly translates into one of my own theories, which is that every single adult that is in the Pink Palace knows who the other mother is. They, to some extent, are cautious about her. They know she's there. You can't convince me that they don't, because they have to know. None of them would willingly be warning Coraline about the fact that the other mother is there indirectly. This is a random thing, I don't like that my curtain is doing this thing where it's like, it's black here, you can see the light here, and then it's like a circle here and up there, because it's like, for a second I was looking, I was like, oh my god, is there a person there? And that's not helping because I'm talking about what's supposed to be like a scary movie. I know there's no one there, but it's not helping because I keep looking at it. But anyways, like Mr. Bobinski, he just says the mice know things, which would make sense because a mouse would have the ability to crawl in and out of the well at their own pleasure. If they felt like it, they could crawl in and under the door if they felt like it. Mr. Bobinski is a war veteran. When were children dying? In the wars. When was embalming a very popular thing? Back when everyone was dying. The other mother conducts her craft with an embalming kit, which kind of helps me believe that Bobinski knows her possibly to a completely different level than everybody else because of his connection with war, dying, and the other mother using, in the theory I've stated before, I'm just going to call it the black cat theory. Actually, that actually makes no sense. But like I said, it kind of like coincides. Miss Pink and Miss Forcible are very obviously some kind of, I don't want to say fortune teller, but they, to me personally, act not as a prophet, but as an all-knowing guide. Someone who's been here long enough to witness and see all this stuff happening, say nothing about it because they don't want to get involved because they're tired and old and are tired, but they are aware of it and try to keep people as safe as possible. So that's like my theory with them. I believe that they are also aware of who the other mother is, especially because of how they speak of their time in their old life. I would like to believe that they also got captured by the other. I'd also like to know how many people live in the Pink Palace, but that's going to be something in a minute. There's that. And then we have Wybie's grandmother, who obviously, if some of you don't know, there is a going theory that the other mother is actually Wybie's grandma, which is specifically because of what Coraline says in part of the movie, where she says, I think I just found her sister. Or, if you've seen the director's cut, and you saw the scene where she goes, your grandmother's black, right? Coraline, Dakota Fanning, you are a riot. I love Dakota Fanning. She's actually really cool. Either way, it's very important to note because of Wybie's grandmother being his grandmother. I don't know what would have happened to his parents. But yeah. I would say the reason that Wybie's grandmother and him are very important in the movie is because there is no Wybie in the book. Coraline is a book written by Neil Gilman, I believe. He also helps co-write the graphic novel, which I own both. I love the graphic novel. It's actually really fun. And then we have Coraline, the movie. If I'm going to compare the both, I would say that the graphic novel is much closer to the movie I would say the graphic novel is much closer to the original book than the movie is, but that's obviously because they have to tone it down because it's supposed to be a kid's movie. But I also believe that the movie gives so much more depth. It gives the same depth that the book gives. I feel like the book gives a lot of open-ended questions. It gives this new life to a story that the movie also does. Well, I feel like the graphic novel doesn't really leave you room for questions because everything that happens gets resolved at the end, to the point where it kind of leaves you with no questions unless you've also read the book and seen the movie to compare it to. And that's just my personal opinion on it, but that's just that. I don't know how I segued into that. I wasn't going to talk about that. Back to the theories of stuff. And then we have, I do remember why. It's because I talked about Wybie and his grandmother. I'd like to note that when we are in Miss Pink and Miss Porcible's flat, that we are shown 3 candy bowls. We are aware of 3 possible victims from the other mother because of this scene where Coraline is in, like, the room with the other mother. Not with the other mother, but in that dark room with all the 3 ghosts. That scene scared the crap out of me when I was little. It's like, I was raised in a black household, and we don't mess with spirits. Absolutely not. In our house, we call them spirits because that's what they are. We don't call them ghosts. We call them spirits. We don't mess with that. You don't mess with the afterlife. It's so rude. It's disrespectful. You don't mess with them. You let them rest in peace. You give them the respect that they ask for. Like, it's like a whole thing. It's very prominent in our culture, which is why I find it very interesting that in the director's cut, they cut out Coraline asking Wybie if his grandmother was black. Because I feel like because of her resentment towards the other mother, which she would be, I guess, like a demonic spirit, or she would be some kind of evil that's dealing with the supernatural, that would be so important to her character as someone we know basically nothing about. Because of her resentment, I don't want to say resentment, but because of her insistence that Wybie stay away from Coraline, stay away from the other mother, don't have anything to do with the doll that she found that looks exactly like Coraline. And I feel like that would have been really important. I'm not saying it would have changed a lot of the movie if they decided to keep it in. I just think they're working on the house outside. I just feel like it would have been a very important difference to an extent. Or maybe that was just my house and it's not like maybe, I don't know. I feel like it would have been very important to the character considering we barely know anything about Wybie's grandmother because neither of them existed in the original book and in the original show. Not in the original show, but in the graphic novel. So their existence in the movie changes everything. Other than that, this leads into my theory of that all the adults are aware of who the other mother is. This is because there's 3 bowls, which makes me assume that because of the significant age gap, with Mr. Bobinski being the oldest, Miss Pink and Miss Porcible being the second oldest, and Wybie's grandmother probably being the youngest out of the 3 of them, considering that Miss Pink and Miss Porcible do make some references that would imply that they are definitely older than the Pink Palace itself. I don't want to say the Pink Palace itself, but I feel like Mr. Bobinski would be older than the Pink Palace. Miss Pink and Miss Porcible were wandering all over the world for traveling and circusry, and because we are in modern day, I would assume that they probably stopped like helping out with circus around late 90s, early 2000s, considering that's when a lot of like stuff about like the circus was starting to slow down because a lot of people were actually not supporting the circus because of how they treated their actors and their animals. But that's not even something I really need to be speaking on because I don't know a lot about the circus industry. Other than that, we have all 3 of those bowls. All 3 of those bowls are also theorized to coincide with the 3 spirits that are in the black room of the other mother's house, and That is why I think that they are aware of her. I don't believe that they would I don't think they would knowingly stay at the Pink Palace and just stay there knowing that there's some evil witch around unless they had unfinished business with her. I genuinely believe that there is a chance that they know who she is, what she's doing to these kids, and are staying there because they feel like they're obligated to. What the other mother has done is not something you can just tread on lightly. Coraline will never have someone to genuinely talk to about this, aside from Wybie and I guess her grandmother. And that is in the movie. Coraline herself in the book and the graphic novel have no one to talk to about this, which we see in the graphic novel when Coraline tries to call 911 and they don't believe her. This is when she realizes she has no one but herself in this world, because there's no one out there who will ever understand what she went through. And that is terrifying for someone who's gone through a very traumatic event and has dealt with everything that she has. She has no one. And I believe that all of these adults also believe this. Now, I am not aware, actually, my theory doesn't, align with maybe the fact of maybe they all know that they know about it together. Maybe they all stay there and they all know separately and believe that they are the only one who know. But either way, that is something terrible to go through. Knowing that there is another spirit out there trying to harm young children and to take them and away from their families and make them believe that they are so desperately unloved that they need to be hurt to be loved is awful. And that is something that not everyone is going to go through, which is why, in my mind, it makes the most sense to me that they would stay in the Pink Palace and try to protect the children that might move there for any reason or cost, even if it would mean possibly getting taken back by the other mother. Now, I assume that the other mother targets kids specifically because they're easy to manipulate, but I feel like taking advantage of someone in a traumatized state or in a state where they feel very vulnerable is also just as easy. So I feel like we can't really say for sure if she hasn't also taken adults, considering that she feels this disdain towards the cat, who is very obviously supposed to be somewhat of an older being and or older man. I don't like that my curtain is moving because of the air in my room. It's actually kind of freaking me out. So that's my theory when it comes to the adults in the Pink Palace. I also find it very odd, again, Wybie and his grandmother changed so much of Coraline. It freaks me out that two characters have this much power in the show, considering the fact that they're not in any of the originals. Because think about this. Coraline was released in the early 2000s, and the Coraline graphic novel, the Coraline book was released in the late 1990s to the early 2000s. The Coraline graphic novels are late 2000s, early 2010s, I believe. I think Coraline, I want to say that the graphic novel was released in between 2001 and 2005, when the Coraline movie was released in 2008. I don't know the exact timeline. I don't really make scripts when I'm talking about these because I would like to get my full unfiltered thoughts, and I don't like overthinking what I'm saying. But I feel like them being characters that were in the original graphic novel or the original book is very important, and there's so much about them that I feel like needs to be spoken about. Other than that, I would say my second theory about Coraline is something, oh my god, I literally just had it, and the reason I'm making this video is because last night I was scrolling on TikTok, and they were talking about Coraline theories and I was like, oh my god, I should talk about some of the Coraline theories. My other theory is that the Beldam is not the original Beldam. I believe that she cut a deal with the original to let her and her sister go, but that the Beldam originally had cut the deal short and kept her there against her will. I believe that this can be true for many reasons. First of all, the fact that I don't believe that if this other mother is the original, that she would have let Wybie's grandmother go for any amount of reason. I do know that a lot of people think that one of the spirits is Wybie's grandmother. I think that's the other mother's original soul. I think that the soul is trapped there and in that room, and that's why the other mother can't go in that room physically. You're telling me she can get to any room in that house except that one, and she can only fit her arms through there? I don't believe it, no. So, I know a lot of people think it's that. I know a lot of people think that the spirits in there, one of them is YB's grandmother's sister. I don't see it. I don't believe it. Yeah. But something about the other mother, like, just being this random, like, divine creature, I can't get behind it. I really can't. I don't know why. It's just something about it just doesn't make sense to me. Because I think it also is because of that theory I discussed earlier about her being a person before she was anything else. I do believe that there are punishments for people that do terrible things. Now, whether you get that in this life or the next, or in whatever afterlife there may or may not be, that's up for the fates to decide, not me. But I do believe that YB's grandmother and the other mother are siblings. I do genuinely believe that. And I want to say that it's very odd to me that only one of the two sisters would have escaped if the other mother is as powerful as she says she is, which leads me to my next theory, that the other mother is running herself. Now, if you've read the book, you know that Coraline would describe the tunnel as wet, alive, as if it was the inside of someone's stomach. The description of the tunnel is very weird. In the book, Coraline talks about hearing voices, she talks about bones, shoes, clothing, hats, very obviously as if something has been being eaten there, and so much more. And I feel like in the book that's very important, considering that in the movie, the tunnel is very bright, very elegant, except for when Coraline is trying to get away, and when Coraline is trying to rescue her family and the other spirits. I'd also like to note that in every adaptation, there are multiple hands, not the three kids and her two parents, but more than that, trying to help her close the door whenever the other mother is trying to force the door open on her. There has always been described as being more than just a couple hands helping her. She's always described it as an army, a flood, 1,000. Those are all descriptors used in the graphic novel and in the original book. Not so much in the movie. The movie, it kind of just shows all the same people. But in the movie, not in the movie, but in the book and in the graphic novel, it is very heavily discussed that there are more than just the 5 people that she's saving helping her. Which kind of furthers my theory that the other mother is running from someone, because in the book and in the movie, she says, "You can't leave me here by myself. You can't," but in the graphic novel, she says, "You can't leave me here with it. I'm all alone." In the movie, she also does say something kind of similar, where she does refer to an it at some point. I can't exactly remember or pinpoint when, but she does refer to an it, which would make sense considering that in the original book, she does describe the tunnel as this alternative being to the other mother, as if it is an alter to her, which kind of, again, reaches my theory of the one I had before, which is that the beldam is not the original. For the theory of that she's running from someone, I can believe that she, as a child, was trying to help her sister, because again, we're going back, these two theories for me coincide, so I do believe that the other mother and Whitey's grandmother could potentially be sisters. So in my mind, when I'm thinking about this theory, I can also see the other mother trying to save YB's grandmother while running from the original beldam and trapping the beldam in the tunnel, and something happening to the beldam not being able to eat for a very long time, just dissolving into it and decaying and becoming a part of the tunnel. I can see that being very truthful, or at least being kind of realistic to be happening. I'm not really sure how to back it up with more than just the very graphic descriptions of the book itself, without like driving all the way to my other house so I can go get the book and read it to you guys aloud. But I don't feel like doing that. This was just like, I need to record kind of thing. When it comes to that theory, though, I do find it very, I don't want to say serious, but I do find it very interesting, because I feel like it gives layers to the story, because a part of that theory I also thought about What if the other mother was eating the bodies? She's very obviously supposed to imitate an arachnid / spider. I don't know which one you guys prefer, so I said both. She's very obviously supposed to imitate that. Spiders don't rely on souls, they rely on bodies. Now, with my theory about the other mother trapping the last one in the tunnel and or the tunnel being the real villain of the story, keeping the other mother there, it makes sense to me that the tunnel is surviving off of people and or souls. I can also believe that the other mother is living off of the children's bodies itself, considering that none of her things that she creates, specifically the other father, which is showed in all 3 versions, that he doesn't eat unless Coraline does. This would explain to me why she keeps the bodies and eats them and then would give the souls to the tunnel. Or maybe the other way around. I can see that being a thing. Another thing that I have a problem with when it comes to the tunnel is with Coraline. When Coraline is running away and coming back, she notices that the tunnel is disheveled, as if it's decaying. It's described as decaying and decomposing in the book, which also leads you to believe that the tunnel is alive and is some kind of alternative being. There's nothing saying that the other mother can't leave by herself unless there's something physically stopping her, which again leads to the original theory that I pointed out at the start of this video. That is not, again, I should probably say theory's not mine. I don't know, I'm pretty sure I said that, but I'm saying it again, that theory's not mine, it belongs to someone else. I'm gonna put the credit in the description. Don't worry. But the other 2 theories are mine. Well, 3 that I've said are mine. And I feel like, I don't know, there's just so much about Coraline that we don't get explained and we don't get told. And Neil has already said that he's not going to make another Coraline. He's already stated he's not going to make a second book. He feels like her story is done. And while there's still questions to be had, that her story of Coraline is done. Coraline is safe, as far as we know. And the people in the Pig Palace are safe, as far as we know. And that their storyline is done. So we know that Neil himself is not going to write another book of Coraline for anyone to make a movie adaptation of, for a reference. Because the Coraline the movie is based off the book. So if they were to make another movie, they have nothing to base it off of original lore, and at that point could be considered non-canon. But I also believe that we wouldn't get the same original cast. We could get Keith David back, but I feel like Dakota Fanning might not come back to the role. Her little sister might. Or is she older? She might be. Elle Fanning, I don't think people realize they're siblings. Elle Fanning and Dakota Fanning are siblings. Elle might come back as Coraline if we ever did, possibly. I don't know. I'm not them. I don't really know what else to say because those were my only 3 theories. A theory that I do like is that Coraline was supposed to become the other mother. I kind of like that theory. It's okay. I don't really remember the full extent of it, but a theory I really, really like is that Coraline went to see the other mother because she was going, and I feel like it coincides with the other one, as I just said as well, which was Coraline, when in the other world, was seeing her future, and that she was destined to become the other mother, but because of her resilience and everything else going on, that she was able to escape. I can hear people talking outside, and it's actually freaking me out. Hello? Anyways. But there's just this theory that Coraline was supposed to become the other mother because something was supposed to happen, but Coraline, and again, I feel that this is important because this only happens in the movie and not in the book and in the graphic novel, because Wybie and his grandmother are so important to this story because they're not in the book or in the graphic novel. You guys. Oh my god, I have an incoming call. Guys, you could wait. We're almost at 30 minutes though. I want to talk so much more about Wybie and his grandmother, so that might be a separate video. Thank you guys so much for listening to me rant. I love you all so much. My next video is probably going to be about a different book series that I enjoy. I guess I should say another book series because I'm not talking about a book series. But I will be talking about a book series that I enjoy soon. So thank you all so much for watching. I love you all so much. I hope everyone's having a great summer. We only have 1 month left. Goodbye.